Right. The reading is Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This is the word of the Lord.
Thank you. Louise, would you like to come up and join us? Let's clear some space for you. Great, please join me in praying for Louise. Lord, thank you for what you have put on Louise's heart to share with us today. Lord, would you open our ears and our hearts to hear from you this morning, to hear your voice clearly. Thank you for how you're moving in this place, and I pray now your blessing over Louise. Amen.
Thank you. Good morning. So Psalm 23, probably one of those psalms that we have all heard 100, maybe even more times before. We often sing it, we often hear it, and I don't know about you, but definitely for me, it's very easy to go with the flow, to tune out, to be like, I've heard this before, we're all good. But actually, that was one of the things that the Lord was saying to me when I was preparing this. No, stop, wait. You may have heard this before, but there are things that we can rediscover. There are things that we can newly discover every time we read something. So, a bit of background for Psalm 23. It is both a prayer and a poem. So it's written by David, who famously we would know to have killed Goliath and went on to become Israel's king. It's a sort of a soulful expression of the writer's feelings, a heartfelt pouring out towards God, and tells the story of a good and caring shepherd and a caring host. It's a beautiful image and a prayer that stirs out emotions and invites us to bring our lives under God's care. David drew on his own experiences of following through challenging times. His life, like many of ours, has its ups and downs, and in this psalm he drew on his own personal experiences of caring for his sheep. I know we don't probably have that experience, but David did, so let's just go with it. He has an intimate understanding of their behaviour and the key role that a shepherd plays in the care of sheep. They're completely dependent on their shepherd for food, water, guidance, and protection. So David uses this analogy of God as a shepherd and us as his sheep to describe how God cares for us. So the first thing that I rediscovered, I guess, is that it is such a personal psalm. There are no references to we or us or they, but instead me, my, and I. This is David's personal experience, his personal testimony. With simple beauty, it speaks of the green pastures and of the still waters, as well as the dark valleys. It covers all life eventualities and speaks to each one of us directly. We can all imagine, and I'm sure we have all been there, with our own green pastures and our still waters, and we think of those times with so much fondness and so much joy. However, we have all had, I'm sure, those dark valleys, and that's okay. But what comforts us through this psalm is the confidence. It says, I will not be afraid, for you are with me. It's not, you might be with me, I might remember about it in a few minutes' time. It is, you are with me. David really believes this. And I've realized that as I've pondered over these words, it's not poetic exaggeration, it's not theoretical ideology or theology, it is first-hand experience. David has experienced God in these ways. He's heard his voice, he's followed his lead, and he has felt his care. Beneath the beauty and simplicity of his words, there are solid convictions formed in the moment of crisis. It is not by his own strength that he overcame these hard times. The psalm promises that God is the one who can get us through. Now, I wonder how often we sit there in a moment of perhaps crisis and we go, we can't do it. Sorry, I can't do it. Actually, at what point do we go, oh no, wait, God promised that he would be there? Something that I've realized is that I am prone to talk more about God when in the green pastures and in the still waters, and more prone to talk to God when I'm in that more dangerous ravine. In the light, we're more than happy to talk about God and how amazing he is and all these great things that he's done. But in that moment, we'd rather speak to him. Why is it not the other way around? Why do we not talk to God in the great times and about him in the bad times? Or both, even better. David changes from comments about God in communion to being with God. And actually, he experienced God in a way that ushered him towards intimacy. That's a challenge for us all today. The second thing I noticed is that God is there. The entire chapter is about God the shepherd and us being his sheep, entirely dependent on him. Psalm 23:4 reminds us that we have nothing to fear, even though we may feel overwhelmed. He promises to guide us through the valleys until we reach the sunny open fields on the other side. In Hebrews, it says this: I will never leave you or forsake you, so we can confidently say that the Lord is my helper and I will not fear. But if we do happen to stray or take our own path, he promises, as he says in the New Testament, to leave the 99 to come back and to rescue us. It is a great, precious promise that we can all cling to. Halfway through the psalm, the image is changed. God becomes more of a caring host than a shepherd. It says, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil and the cup overflows. So I've had a look at this, and in ancient Eastern culture, when you hold a banquet, it was quite normal to anoint your guests with oil. To anoint them with a fragrant oil and to take care of them, to take them under your wing, to support them, to give them a good time. Psalm 23 is God's invitation to bring our lives under his care, to go under his wing, to be taken care of, to be anointed. The closing part of the psalm, David anticipates the ultimate hope that lies beyond, and it says, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. One day, God will decisively sort out this world so that it will be in the way that it was always meant to be. Like a run-down house to be restored, God will restore this world. But if we follow the Good Shepherd, we are well on the way to a more ultimate and glorious home. What a hope this is. The thing about hope is that it points beyond the now. Hope doesn't claim that everything is fine right now, and it definitely does not claim that we have nothing to worry about now. Hope points us to the future, a better future than the present that we experience. Something which is coming to change our present pain or present circumstances, and yet hope changes our relationship with the struggles that we are facing, the present tense that we are facing now. A person with hope can endure almost indefinitely more than a person without it. Something is changed when we discover that we have hope. Something in us is transformed. Not something in the circumstances necessarily, but something in us is transformed. And we can say for certain, for sure, that we have this hope in our Good Shepherd. So, powerful words of encouragement. Whatever we're going through, God promises to restore us and to guide us, to protect us, and ultimately to lead us home. There is so much to unpack in this one psalm. So perhaps you find yourself weak and exhausted, in the dark, perhaps unsure of your future. Maybe you feel like the colour has drained out of your life and your soul is feeling downcast, as it was for David. Look up. Fix your eyes on the Good Shepherd, your Good Shepherd. Stick close to him, trust that he knows the way through the valley, and he will see you through. This might seem hard, and this might seem unfamiliar, but that's okay, because God knows, and he can see the other side. Hold on to the joyous truth that on the other side of this valley is something far greater than we can ever imagine. The Lord is good to us. He always has been, and he always will be. He provides us peace, sustenance, protection, and guidance because of his amazing grace and his unrelenting love. Perhaps you are feeling the total opposite, and you are on top of the world, and you are in your green pasture, and you are walking by the still waters, and that is great too. Celebrate it. Thank the Lord for that. Thank him for his continued protection and his guidance and his blessings. He wants to hear from you, good or bad. Hold on to his promises that his goodness and his mercy will follow us all of the days of our life. And perhaps you are somewhere in the middle, and that is okay too. We have our good days and we have our bad days. But the one thing that we need to remember is to rest in his arms, draw close to him, because he is our Good Shepherd.